Alright, today we're going to be playing a game called Spirit Island. It's a board game my friend told me to get into, so like a good friend, I got into it. And we're going to play, and I'm going to talk. We're going to play on a difficulty I can beat very reliably, just so I don't do anything silly, but also or my silliness isn't punished, I guess is a better way of saying it. But also so that I can talk about what I currently understand in the game and sort of mark down what I understand of strategy. I'm going to play two runs, one with each of two characters, except that it seems like this runs really slowly while I have the recording software open. I have a spinning ball of death. I clicked new game a little while ago. So this might not be a feasible project, but let's talk a little about the game. Okay, we're going to play one board. We're going to play one of the two spirits I understand. We're going to play no adversary. We're going to make it not easy. Like, it took me a while to be able to beat it reliably, in part because I was trying to figure it out on my own rather than finding strategy. Sometimes when you look up strategy, it sort of makes it too straightforward what you do. But looking up strategy in this game, this is a credit to this game, really expanded kind of my strategic thinking. In a sense, and sometimes that just happens obviously because you start looking for more things to think about strategically. But here it specifically happened. Yeah, we'll just do whatever random math they gave us. Here it specifically happened because even though now my turn orders are kind of set, I have a go to plan. Figuring out what and where you're going to do the effects, there are just huge differences in skill in what you're doing. So the turn order of this game is first you have a growth phase where you do something that kind of permanently improves your strength, and then you can cast red spells. I'm just going to call them instants because that's an easy way for me to think about it. Instants. Then the enemy has their full phase, and then you cast slower spells, sorceries. So the red ones in the top left are instants, the blue ones are sorceries. So the red ones you can do before their action, and the blue ones you do after their actions. Um, their actions are divided into three parts. There is a Ravage, Build, and Explore phase, and each card, a card is flipped up in Explore. The deck is where Explore is, and it moves over to Build and then Ravage. And I'm not going to explain every little tidbit, but basically in the build phase, they get stronger. They're going to build cities and towns. You can see a city and a town on the map. The city is in Area 2, the town is in Area 8. And in the Ravage phase, however much strength they've accumulated in a spot of that type, they attack. So here, they're going to build in areas 1 and 6, the two mountainous areas, the black areas on the map. And so those are our main concerns. Now, if you stop them in the build phase, if you clear something out in the build phase, the build tile will move to the ravage tile, and suddenly they won't have anything to ravage because they'll have no army there. Also, army strength, cities are worth 3, towns are worth 2, the invaders are worth 1. 1 cannot do any damage. So if you can kill, like, say they build a town, if you kill the town, the single invader is not a threat and can actually be picked off by your little mushroom bros. Mushroom Bros fight for 2, but the enemy gets to fight first. So if they have a town, the town will do its 2 damage to your mushroom before your mushroom can do its 2 damage to the town. Again, we're not going to specify everything. Now we're playing River Surges in the Sunlight, something like that. We can click it and find out. No, everything runs slow. River Surges in Sunlight, yes. And our main ability is, where does it say it? Yes, so we have single bases and double bases. And on this turn, we can add presence. Generally, at the start of the game, you want to add a lot of presence. We have a base here in Area 5. And usually we want to get a base because, so you can have single bases and double bases. So I can show a quick example of a single base. Now, this is one range from where our bases currently are. So I cannot put this in Area 2 and get the double base immediately. I'd have to put it in Area 4. If I want to get there. There's a case for putting it in Area 1. I probably will put it in Area 1, but we're going to go back in a sec anyway. And then I could put the second one in Area 2 because it is, again, has one range. And you can see it has little lights coming out of it. It's a double base. A lot of abilities can only be done near a double base, so it is worth having double bases kind of touching everywhere on the map. And you can see if I have a double base in 2 and 1 in 5, I touch everywhere on the map is within one range of a double base. And that's really important. Now we're going to undo that, actually. And I'm going to go check on my food that I'm cooking. One moment. All right, we're back. So it is really worth getting up these double bases, but a double base can fall if it's attacked. If they ravage and do damage, you lose your bases there. So you can, in fact, put an extra base on top of a base you already have fully. Like I'm gonna drag. God, this is running really slow while I'm recording. No, not doing what I intended to. I'm gonna drag. Can I click it? Thank you. To area 5, I could double up there. It doesn't need 2 bases to be a double base. In non-wetlands, my special ability is wetlands or double bases. I would need to put 2 bases there to have a double base. But this is sort of protection. This is saying if they ravage here and destroy a base, I will still have my double base. Now, in general, with river surges and sunlight, we want to have a double base touching everywhere in the map. So I really do want to have one of my bases. I can place 2 bases this turn, one of them in the wetlands in area 2. Other bases are mostly because one of our moves, you can see at the bottom of each card, it gives the range of a move. One of our moves has 0 range from a base. And so if I want to use that on a square, I really need that square to have a base in it. So it can be very much worth putting a base here, even if I expect that base to have a decent chance to be destroyed shortly, because my important bases are my 2 in the river, in the waterland areas. Those are going to do the important work, but my 1 base there lets me do a little more stuff there for now, fight a little more for that spot, and I don't really mind losing it. On turn 1, you tend to use Wash Away and River's Bounty. We'll talk about these cards in a moment. Notice these are both in the sorcery category. Also, they have elements on them. If you add up to enough elements, you get a special ability. The more elements you have, the more powerful an ability you get. Right now, we only have the level 1 of the ability, but in the end game, we'll be getting the level 3 of the ability regularly. We're going to finish playing cards. Note, none of our cards are instants, so the enemy will get their full turn before our turn. But in a sense, sorceries are kind of better than instants. Not always. If we could clear out these mountain areas before they build, that would be great. But if we think about it in poker terms, often in poker, in fact, basically always in poker, you want to act after your opponent. You want to see what they're going to bid or how they're going to check, and you get to react to it. You have additional information. You also have options they might not have. For instance, if they check, you can check behind and they don't have a chance to respond to you. It's good to have the chance to respond. If we cast things at slower speed, we get to see all their actions before they respond. We get to know what card they flipped in the explore thing and respond appropriately. Well, if we acted now, we do not know their full turn. So it creates interesting things here. And there is benefit to having things at the slower speed rather than just at the faster speed. So that was the faster speed turn. There was nothing to play faster speed, so it should skip past it, yes. And now they get to get their build phase. They're going to build towns in both 1 and 6. They build towns first, and then if there are more towns than cities, they build a city. Otherwise, they build a town. So the first time in a square with nothing built on it, they'll always build a town. And now they flip their explore card, and they explore in the wetlands, which means they will build there next, and then they will ravage the turn after that. Okay, so we're going to think a bit about our turn, but I'm going to check on the food again, because I think something has almost come to a boil, or has come to a boil, so I'll be back in a moment. Alright, so this is where the interesting decisions begin. Because we have 4 powers to use. We have 3 powers this turn, but we're going to use Flash Floods next turn, which will be 1 damage. 1 damage can kill an invader, or 2 total damage if it's in a coast area, which can kill a town. And what we're going to try to do is clear out the most of the threats on the board. There are 4 threats. In Area 1, we have a town and an invader ready to ravage. In Area 6, we have another town and invader ready to ravage, but we do have a mushroom for defense. We'll come back to those. In Area 5, we have an invader ready to build. And in Area 2, we have an invader and a city. Cities have 3 health. They're really hard for us to deal with. And between these 4 things, we have to figure out what we want to put energy into and what we don't. And we have 4 things that could help us defend something. and hopefully we can synergize them to deal with all or most of the threats and figure out which threat we don't mind and which threats we really do mind and are going to have to worry about. And it's really worth considering Flash Flood's part of this turn because we will play it next turn. It's part of our play for next turn. And we know that's instant speed, so that is like our 3 sorcery speed things will happen before their next turn. So that's 2 damage. I think it's very likely, it's 1 damage or 2 damage. It's very likely we either use it on Area 5, where it kills the lone builder, and if we kill the builder, they do not get to build at all. That would, that kills the builder, so that does 1 damage, but it effectively does 3 damage because it stops them building a town there. And a turn later, it stops them ravaging it all there. So that seems to me a really good use of Flash Floods. Another place we could use it, because it does 2 damage, is we could use it on Area 1, and we could pick off the town in Area 1. And that would leave them with just an invader, and an invader cannot do enough damage to hurt us on its own. It won't destroy our thing, it won't blight us. We haven't talked about blight, but it won't blight us. Blight is sort of how you lose the game, but like a lot of games, blight is kind of HP, and it doesn't really matter that much until you hit 0 or until there's enough threat of hitting 0 that you have to change your decision making. So we shouldn't be that worried about blight. Like, health is a resource, and we should be willing to spend it to achieve other goals. But stopping them blighting us will give us more options later. So we have 2 uses for Flash Flood. Flash Flood would be good in Area 1. It would clear the town there, and would mean we just don't have to worry about Area 1. In Area 5, it would kill the builder, which would mean we effectively kill a town a turn later, and we don't have to worry about Area 5. So this clears Area 1 or 5 for us. If we look at Massive Flooding can push one thing into another area. So it could push the guy from 5 into Area 4. 4 is not a threat to us. It's fine to have enemy units there. That would solve 5. From 6, it could push the city into 8. The town into 8. We wouldn't want to push it into 1 or 5 because there it could do things. It could help build or it could ravage. But if we push it into 8, we don't have to worry about it for a bit. We benefit from pushing things closer to the coast. So it would be nice if we don't let them build up in 8. When you explore, you can only explore to places that are near where a city or town is. And so if we don't give them any cities or towns inland on the map, on the right part of the map, suddenly their explorers are much less dangerous. So it would be really good if we could clear out Area 8 at some point. It's not a priority right now, but it would be good to do at some point. Sorry if you can hear my phone beeping. So putting more stuff into Area 8, not that desirable, but we could clear this, and if we move the town out, then when they ravage, their invader will fight our mushroom, and our mushroom wins that fight. Our mushroom is 2 power, 2 defense, and their invader's 1 and 1. We win that fight, and they only do 1 damage to the land, so we're fine. They need to do 2 damage to have any serious threateningness. So this can deal with Area 6. It can also deal with Area 5. We push the builder out, they don't get to build. It could deal with Area 1. We push the town out, they don't get to ravage, or their ravage is non-threatening. It could not deal with Area 2. So this can deal with 1, 6, or 5. Then we have Wash Away. Wash Away can move up to 3 units. So this could also deal with 6 or 5, but in fact, if we're dealing with 6, we only want to get rid of the town. We don't really care about the individual because it's going to die to the mushroom. Now, it could get everything out of 1, but we don't mind having 1 thing left in 1. It could also get everything out of 5. We're not going to be able to use Wash Away that powerfully. Notice Wash Away cannot push away cities. So we can't do anything about the big threat in 2. We're going to drop 2. 2 is going to be our sacrifice. But we have 3 things that can deal with between them 1, 6, and 5. And I'm going to start by doing that. I'm going to say Flash Floods will deal with, let's say, 1. I think that's optimal. Because if we use one of the pushing things on 1, we will push this town out, but the town will still exist. And I'd rather kill the town than kill a random invader. So we're going to push... this invader into the sands. to remove that threat. One threat down. We're going to push this town into the green. And we're not going to push the invader because the invader will die to our mushroom. We want to let our mushrooms fight. And now I'm going to pause the video once more. And we're back. So we dealt with 2 of the threats. We still have 1 and 2 remaining as threats. And we haven't talked about our last card. So we know Flash Floods will deal with 1. So we only have 1 threat remaining, 2. And actually, our cheapest card costs 0 energy. We haven't talked energy, and we probably won't because I'm lazy. Our cheapest card is actually going to be our way to deal with that. We can bring 2 mushrooms to an area, and if we do, it creates another mushroom if we have at least 2 mushrooms in the area. If there were already 2 mushrooms, you can actually just finish gathering immediately and it will just add a third. It's at least 2 mushrooms total, but we're going to bring all our mushrooms here. Why? Because, now it's going to end my turn, but it'll pause before any more action happens. What's going to happen there is they have 4 power between the city and the invader. Now they're going to build another thing there, but we'll have time to deal with that a bit. But if a city fights 4 mushrooms, pretend we've gotten rid of all the other units. The city does its 3 damage first. That kills 1 mushroom, but can't kill a second mushroom because mushrooms have 2 health. And then the other mushrooms all get to attack back for 2 each. And this is a really good way for us to kill a city. It's really hard for us to do 3 damage, and we need our mushrooms to do a lot of the damage. And one of my biggest level ups in playing was when I stopped just trying to make a million mushrooms, but started just trying to sacrifice them to get rid of cities and other important targets. So we're going to add 2 presents again. And the reason we are adding from the bottom row, the top row gives us more energy. This lets us play more cards. We currently get +1 energy per turn, but increasing that to +2 is pretty good. But we're going to go on the bottom because our cards are fairly cheap. We want to play a lot of them at once. The more we can play at once, the more likely we can set off our innate power and level it up each turn. And also, we get a reclaim 1. When we use cards, they go into the discard pile. We get a free reclaim, which lets us pull a card back from that. We don't have to spend a full turn reclaiming as often because we can get cards back for free. And this is just a really powerful effect. It doesn't matter hugely where I put my next 2. I'm going to put 1 in this green area just so we have a little more access to it if needed. And I'm going to put the other one just in case. I'm not sure this is optimal. I'd have to spend a bit of time calculating and I won't. On top of our other one in the wastelands, because we're probably going to lose that when the city attacks. We're certainly going to lose it. And if we lose 1 but have another, we'll still have the effects of having our double base there. We can reclaim a card. We're going to reclaim River's Bounty. It is our cheapest card. It actually creates energy for us. We didn't look at that, but when we gather up to 2 Dahans, if there are now at least 2, we add a third, but we also gain an energy. And a big part of how we can play a lot of cards each turn is constantly playing River's Bounty. It's basically the most important card we have. Now we're going to play all 3 of our cards once I pass the spinning wheel of death. That seems like a good time to pause and again check on the food. So basically the strategy so far has been identify threats and figure out ways to deal with them, but also really focused on build is often scarier than Ravage. Ravage is just damage now, damage to health, but build makes our board state worse, and the board, until it's like our final bit of health, the board matters more than our health, right, than how much blight there is. So we're really looking to make sure we defend against builds. Here we obviously couldn't stop the build in the city, but our top priority was clearing out 5. And really just using all the resources we have available. So here we have Flash Floods. We had a plan for this. We were going to use it to stop the Ravage in 1. I wish we would have had time to bring a mushroom here. Maybe I could have brought a mushroom here instead of... probably should have. I probably should have brought mushrooms to 1. No, I'm not sure I could have brought 2 without... Yeah, it doesn't matter. But, okay. We're going to clear the town here. 2 damage to that. And so both of their Ravages will do nothing. And Boon of Vigor just gives energy. So this also just helps us. If you're playing a multiplayer game, it can give more energy to an ally, and you will have enough energy that you can use that at least once on an ally while doing everything I'm going to do. But we don't have any allies, so you can see they Ravage, they do nothing. The other one dies to the mushroom. You can see the mushroom flips over when it fights. That means it's taken 1 damage, but it takes 2 before it dies. Now they're going to build. They don't build in Area 5 because we cleared it out, but they do in Area 2. Area 2 is our biggest problem. And I hope they don't flip green here, but it's probably more interesting if they do. They flip green. So now that Area 8 is a huge problem for us. So we have 3 problems to deal with. We don't have 4 because by clearing out Area 5 in the build before the build phase, we don't have to worry about it in the Ravage phase. So we have Area 8, Area 3, and Area 2 to worry about. What are our tools? Well, next turn we're going to reclaim all our cards from the discard pile, and we will play Flash Floods again. So we have 2 damage to a coastal area or 1 damage to a non-coastal area. We have Massive Flooding level 2 because we played more cards and hit the elements, which is 2 damage, and we can push 3 things. And we have River's Bounty. Alright. Hopefully this is our last pause before I win this fight. Alright, where were we? Yes, we have 3 problems to deal with. Area 2 we're going to deal with by massing our mushrooms there, technically called Dahan. Area 3, we can hit with Flash Floods next turn, and that's going to do 2 damage, which easily clears Area 3, so we don't have to worry about building there. And our Massive Flooding, level 2, lets us deal with Area 8. And that's what we're going to do. There is a chance we actually use Flash Floods differently than I'm claiming, but we're going to ignore that for now. So we can clear out this town. Now they're still going to build a city there because they have a town, but we're going to remove both things from there. In the Ravage phase, you often want to leave one invader because it will die to a mushroom, and you want them to fight the mushrooms. They only fight during the Ravage phase, and you want your mushrooms to kill invaders for free. But in the build phase, we don't want to leave anything there because that thing will build. And we also have River's Bounty. The big fight is going to be in the blue spot. I'm just going to make another Dahan here. And we're going to get to that in a second, but we're going to have a big fight there, and we'll make sure we win it with Flash Floods. I haven't actually figured it out. So this term, we want our cards back. We can get 1 card back for free because of our reclaim ability, but we're just going to reclaim our whole hand. We don't get to add presence, and presence not only lets us, control more of the map, but it lets us get more energy per turn or play more cards per turn. It's really good to add presence when we can, but this is a turn we have to reclaim because we just want to be able to impact the board more than that. This time, we get 3 things. We reclaimed, we gain an energy, and we gain a power card. We can get a minor or major card. We're going to get a minor card. We want it to be cheap and fit in. We're looking for things with blue element. I think there are 3 things to look for at this phase. 1, is it a useful element to us? Encompassing Ward is actually all 3 of the elements we use. Blue, yellow, and black are the 3 needed for our innate. So on a front of, does it get the elements we want? Encompassing Ward, yes. Also Elemental Boon. Elemental Boon gets you whatever 3 you want. Its only purpose is to get the elements you want. That's quite a good effect. That's really nice. But we have something that has all 3 in Encompassing Ward and provides another effect. So Encompassing Ward for us is strictly better. But for another deck that wanted different elements, if they didn't see those elements, they might take Elemental Boon here. Or if we didn't see Encompassing Ward here, because we're just drawing random cards from a deck, we might take Elemental Boon because it's really nice to get those because our innate is one of our most powerful effects. We don't need that much else, and we should just be trying to maximize our chances to get them. The second thing I think we look for here is for some classes, ours it's going to be fine. Some you really need something that's a specific point on the energy curve. Like it can be really useful. It would be nice in that we're going to take 2 minor cards within this turn and next. It would be nice to grab something that costs 0. It's just easier to fit in. Not super relevant to us. And finally, is there something that's really useful to our board state? And in fact, Encompassing Ward is the most useful here to our board state, but there could be something that does damage in a spot we need damage or something else, and we would look to take that. This is a clear Encompassing Ward, and Encompassing Ward is one of the best cards we can get. And alright, sorry, another pause. The next pause will have a lot of fun loud beeps. So generally on this turn, we cast Flash Floods, River's Bounty, and Wash Away. We could include Encompassing Ward, and Encompassing Ward is pretty useful here, actually. It gives Defend 2 to any area we have a base, which includes area 2, and right now they're going to do 6 damage there. So 6 damage will kill 3 of our mushrooms, and then 2 will fight back. We'll have 4 damage. We'll be able to kill the city and the invader. But if we give 2 defend, it's only 4 damage. And then that only kills 2, and our other 3 can kill. We have 3 mushrooms left. That's 6 damage. That's enough to kill a city, which is 3, a town, which is 2, an invader, which is 1. So if we use Encompassing Ward, we can sweep that without any other effort. So actually, I am going to play Encompassing Ward. We're going to play Flash Floods. So Encompassing Ward means we can deal with Area 2. Flash Floods means we can deal with Area 3. We could still use Wash Away, but I'm going to make sure we have energy for next turn and just take River's Bounty here. And this is a really good turn. It was really nice to get Encompassing Ward. You know, we'd win without it. We didn't need it, but really nice value there. So we're going to Encompassing Ward. All our areas now get 2 defend. And we're going to Flash Floods to kill the green so it doesn't build. And that's our turn. And now there will be a big fight in the water, in the wetlands, which I think I've called like 5 different things. So they'll only kill 2 because we protected 2. They do add a Blight, which kills one of our bases, but we backed it up. And then we fight back for 6 and clear out the city, which is so important to us. Cities are so scary to us. Cities are by far the biggest problem. There's no build in the jungle. We already cleared out both jungles. And it's so good to get ahead in the build phases because it makes it so much easier to play the rest of the game. All right, they drew a green tile again. So they're exploring the green phases. Which means, interestingly, that they ravage before they build there. So if we River's Bounty and bring any mushrooms to either of these squares, which we're going to do, they're going to fight before they build, which means buy River's Bounty in here, and it was useful to put one of our presences here because you can only River's Bounty to a place you have presence. This guy's going to fight before he builds. This was a very easy draw. This game, we got Encompassing Ward, which is great, and we got 2 of the same tile in a row, which often means you can, if you already, you can leave an invader and have it killed with Ravage, and it never gets to build. We have a level 2 Massive Flooding. We could clear Area 3, or we could kill a town in Area 6. I think it's worth saying Area 3 is the threat, even though we're wasting a little damage and ability to do stuff. I do like killing an inland town, though. All right, let's kill the town. We're going to kill the town, and we're going to push the invader a little further inland because, coastal, because the coast is easy for us to deal with. We've seen Flash Floods does more damage to the coast. Flash Flood can kill both of these guys in Area 1, but it could only kill one of them if in Area 6. We get a growth turn. Now here, we could reclaim, but we don't need to because we can pull a 3rd card back. We could double presence, and this is a good move, or we could gain a power card and add a presence. There's the beeping. All right. Okay. What are we going to do? What we're going to do is we're going to gain a power card and add a presence. The presence is nice. Not needed here, but it's nice to control more of the map or double up an area we think we're going to lose. And it's also really nice to gain a power card, because if we gain a power card here and we reclaim a card, we can play 4 cards this turn. And that's, a really nice effect. So we're also using our presence to let us get up to 4 card plays per turn. 4 card plays means we can start hitting our tier 3, which is really nice. The bottom track for us is really valuable. I'm going to put it, I don't know, I guess we'll put it in this green spot just to give us more access if we want to send Dahan there, which we probably do. Mushrooms. We can reclaim a card. Usually we reclaim River's Bounty, but if there's some need to, you could reclaim Flash Floods or Encompassing Ward. We will have 3 energy this turn. We have 2 currently. It's the top left of the 4 things. Top right is cards in our discard. Bottom right is something or other. Oh no, bottom right is how many cards we can play per turn. Top left is energy, and bottom left is how many energy we get at the start of our turn. So we're going to get +1 from that, so we'll go up to 3 energy. So we could play Flash Floods and Wash Away. And that might be best here. The standard thing to do is pull back River's Bounty. And I'm going to play this standardly, even if I think grabbing Flash Floods here might be slightly more efficient. We're going to grab a power card. I should probably do that before placing the presence, just to get more information before I commit to it. So this was a little poorly played. Generally speaking, there's three things. Does it have elements I want? The most important element at this point by far is water, is blue, because if you look at our innate ability, it takes 4 water. So we need all 4 of the cards we play to have water on it to get our innate to go off. So water is the most important. Here we won't be able to use our innate because we won't have enough yellow, even if we take the card with blue. Or if we take the card with yellow, we won't have enough with blue. But it's most useful to take a blue card. Blue card is really useful. Second thing we look for is, does it cost 0? 0 is just nice. Here we're already playing 2 zeros. It's fine to take something that costs 1 here, not a problem. And finally, does it affect the board in a useful way? We're actually not as focused on that, but the thing that does affect the board is probably the damage, the bottom right card. But we're going to take Call of the Dahan Ways. It is nice to get the blue, and it's a really nice effect to just turn an invader into a mushroom. Is a thing I really like. And if we can somehow get a second white energy, a moon energy, we can turn a town into a mushroom, which is a pretty powerful effect. And we can now play all 4 of our cards, which is great. This opening really does end up sequencing, so you can just feel like you're constantly doing stuff, which always feels good. And we're going to play all 4. Sorry, this is running so slowly. This game is surprisingly CPU intensive on this computer, and recording is always kind of CPU intensive. So again, our top priority is green areas, but we don't have anything we can do before they act. That's fine. We cleared the city. The game is won. We're already clearing area 8 really easily because we flipped a fear card. We're going to ignore fear cards for now and fear. Each player may push 1 Dahan from a land with invaders, or gather 1 into a land with invaders. Oh, that's incredible. We can gather a Dahan to area 3, and that will kill the invader when it ravages there, just a free kill for us. And it stops them building, too, because ravage happens before build. The turn order is so interesting, and calculating around it is really important. So right now they have no threats, but they will explore. They will always create new threats. Now, they have no towns anywhere on the map. So that's actually a completely wasted explore. Even if they have no towns, they can explore into anywhere that touches the coast. So we've gotten incredibly lucky this run, because if they'd gotten mountains, it would have explored into 1. If they'd gotten wetlands, it would have explored into 2. Grass, it would have explored into 3, or jungle, J for jungle. But as was, they could not use any of it, and now we can do stuff. Now, Call of the Dahan actually can't hit any target right now because it must target an area we have Dahan. But we can make Dahan. We're going to pull 2 into Rivers, and with Rivers Bounty here. That will make a 3rd. Now we can target this with Call of the Dahan. That's going to turn one of their guys into mushrooms, which is great. And we have massive flooding, which can kill and push. We may as well kill from the place they're going to build. I guess we don't get to push this turn. Why won't you let me click it? Are you letting me click it? Thank you. This runs so much better, as I said. If and I'm going to push them into the blue area just because I like having everything pushed kind of as far left as possible. You often focus all of them in area 2. It's the easiest place to push everything, and again, we're best at dealing with things on the coast. And now we win immediately because we can play Flash Floods and kill them before they can do anything. Turn 5, we always reclaim because we have no hand. Great time to reclaim. We get to draw a minor card. Again, look for blue, look for useful now, and cheap is nice. So I see yellow and blue. That's great. We'll just take that. The fight is over. We don't have to be that specific because Flash Floods is going to kill the last unit. But notably this turn, If we play our 4 starter cards, which is usually what we play, but if something else fits better, you can fit that in. If we play our 4 starter cards, they combine to have 4 blue, 3 yellow, and 1 black, which means we hit our tier 3 and 8. And this is when we can, if we pushed everything into area 2, if this was like a harder fight or it had gone worse for us, but we hadn't killed things, but we'd managed to push it all into area 2. This could be our big sweeper hitting area 2, 2 damage to everything there. Like, I've played games where there are like 4 towns there and they're all killed and like 4 invaders. It can't kill cities though. And this is where Flash Floods is really important, because say they have 2 cities in area 2. Say we had the exact same map, but they have 2 cities, 4 towns, and 4 invaders in area 2. Wherever else they play, at end of turn, we will wash away that back into blue, into the area 2. So even if they have other stuff on the map, we can try to make sure it's all going to get killed when we use our massive flooding. And we're going to use Flash Floods to do 1 damage to each of those cities to bring them to 2 health at the start of the turn, so that at the end of the turn, massive flooding can sweep them. And a lot of games end with us flash flooding whatever the cities are, having pushed everything to the coast. Pushing things towards the coast is very good for us, and then winning by making sure we wash anything else on the map into it at the end, and then massive flooding to sweep everything. Here we don't need to, but hopefully you can see how that kind of turn would work. And yeah, I really like playing River. I like focusing on, like, do I want to prioritize the threats of building or the threats of ravaging? Usually building is the bigger threat. We had 2 more health, meaning if they had 2 more blights, that doesn't even kill us. It just sets off a condition where we basically have to sacrifice a presence every turn. But we could sacrifice, like, the presence in 8 is not that useful to us anymore. We want to keep our presences in 2 and 5, the 2 wetlands, but we could sacrifice the others and it wouldn't impact us that much. So even then, we have a lot more turns before we actually have serious problems. Yeah, and that's basically how River Surges in Sunlight works. Um, I was using the exact same build when I started. Like, I played a little on my own. I did badly. I looked up a build order. This was the first one I found. I started using it, and I was still losing a fair bit until I got better at prioritizing and figuring out how I wanted to play the cards. So even within knowing what your core strategy is, there's a lot of decisions to make, and there's a few ways you can augment or slightly adjust depending on what cards you draw. Turn 4, instead of getting 1 presence and a minor card, you can get 2 presence there and play it a little differently. There's some augmentations you can do depending on what you see. I did find and try out some builds that were kind of different, ones that rushed getting tier 3 of massive flooding sooner. I guarantee getting it on turn 5, and if I get the right minor card draws, I can sometimes get it turn 4, but usually not. But you can guarantee getting it turn 4, and you might be able to guarantee getting it turn 3, but you have to, like, not play stuff on multiple turns, or at least on 1 turn. And I didn't think those worked as well. And there was also a play. Can we click and look at this? No. Yeah, we can. There was also a strategy where you, instead of going double card play twice to get to the reclaim 1, you go 1 energy per turn and 1 card play in your first turn. This gives you more energy on turn 1, which lets you flash floods on turn 1, which lets you pick something off before it builds. And that can be a useful effect, but I found it really clunky how much slower it got to the reclaim 1 and to playing 4 cards a turn. And I ended up not liking that one as much, but it was interesting to try out different things. So I'm going to pause here and actually eat, and then we're going to come back and keep going, and I'm going to play a different character. This will make a long video, but that's okay. I should say, if anyone has this on Steam, you can play multiple maps combined together, and a lot of the abilities work better with teammates, and it might be fun to play together. Okay, actually back shortly, and we will play a second character. Alright, character number 2. So this is going to be interesting on a... oh no, it's going to... spinning ball of death me. Oh no, it didn't. Wonderful. Again, we're going to play on a 0 difficulty. Yeah, and we're going to play Thunder Thing. And the most important trait this has is in the bottom left corner. or the most defining trait, which is for every purple element we do, we may use one power, slow power, as if it was a fast power. May use one sorcery as if it was an instant. And this is makes it seem like it should be a very proactive rather than reactive class. Where the previous one we were using a lot of sorcery stuff, we were slower, we were, responding to threats. That seems like it should be reactive. This should be proactive. In fact, no. The other one was way more proactive, in part because by seeing where they are building, it could then block their builds and get out ahead of them. Here, we're acting before their explore and build stage, which means we're sort of dealing with what's on the board now rather than with what's coming. We're not as able to get out in front of it. So it's this really interesting thing where acting quickly is not always good. And I think one of the more skillful parts of this class that we are almost certainly not going to explore in this game because I haven't thought about it at all is if you have something, so you can use blue speed things at red speed, but you do not have to. You could save them, wait to see what the opponent does, and then use them. So that optionality is where I think a lot of the interest in this class is. But another really important trait that I want to talk about is Shatter Homesteads is a really important card that I can't currently hover over, but you can see it with our innate power too. We have abilities like Destroy a Town or potentially Destroy a City. And Shatter Homesteads is Destroy a Town. And so we're going to be able to destroy towns and cities much more easily than we could before. But this is also again, very reactive thing. Because if an invader goes somewhere, we don't have a town to destroy yet. We have to wait for them to build before we hit it. So this is a class where we are very much waiting for them to build up and then picking off the scary things they build up. Well, the other class was see where they're going to build and often prioritizing getting rid of their building over getting rid of their ravaging. And then because we got rid of their building last turn, there's nothing to ravage, and we can start getting ahead of the game. And now next turn, there's no ravage. We see the new thing to build, we deal with that, and we can get ahead of the threats. Here, it feels to me, even though we're in a sense much faster, we're called Lightning Swift Strike. We can play things as fast as possible. It feels instead much more like you are behind and trying to deal with the threats before they kill you. And that might make it sound a lot weaker. And in my hands, it definitely is significantly weaker. But it has a much easier time. I think I clicked start. Oh no, I didn't click start. I clicked the wrong thing. But our ability to destroy towns and cities is so strong that makes up for a lot of it. So it's an interesting contrast, but it's really cool to me to see that within these game mechanics, you can have classes that are going to have such different priorities. And to me, this class looks like it should be more offensive and the other more defensive, but I think it feels playing it like the opposite. Where offensive and defensive is not the right word. That one is more controlling space, moving things around. This is more killing things. Probably have to consider killing things more aggressive and moving things around more defensive. But if we had a stylistic chart where one axis was aggressive defensive and the other axis was proactive reactive, this might be very aggressive. It's looking to kill things, but it's very reactive as well. And that's such an interesting effect to me. Okay, so this is a bummer because we don't do anything turn one. We're actually going to pass completely. You could shatter Homestead, which kills a town to get rid of the town in 8. But your energy just works out so much cleaner if you entirely skip turn 1, which means we're going to let them get a city in 8 as well as the starting city in 2. If we were playing as River, this is a big problem. It's just hard to control both. We wouldn't have a way to stop them with River either, but with River, it would be a bigger problem to have this start than it is for us as Lightning Swift Strike because we are not as worried about big building. Now, thinking about where we want to put our presence, you'll notice one can go 2 range and the other 0 range. This basically forces us to double wherever we go. And if we look at our abilities, Shatter Homestead requires being somewhat near one of our double bases. Basically, it's nice to have a double base touching everything, and then our rest of our base placement, as far as I can tell, doesn't matter that much playing this class. So, given that 7 touches, we have a double base in 7, it touches 5 and 8. Incidentally, we get no free double bases with this character. The ability of the last character was free double bases. Our ability is everything is instant speed, or close to everything. I'm going to put a double base in 4 or 1. No, 4. Because 4 touches everything that we don't currently touch, except for 6. We could go in 1, and that would touch 6, but it wouldn't touch 3. I think I'd rather touch 3 just because more is happening in 3. So we are going to double presence. And we're going to do it from the top track because we're actually not going to play any cards this turn, which means we don't care about card plays. We want to start building energy. If you do play cards this turn, it is harder to sequence out the future turns, so this is just the build order I learned. There are other ways to play it, but this one makes some sense to me. And we're, in fact, just not going to play anything. If we take a quick look at our cards, Raging Storm is our damage sweeper. It can clear out mini invaders. We're basically never going to play this card. I'm probably never going to play it. It's just very costly. And if we're going to have enough energy to do things like this, we probably have better things to do. Shatter Homesteads we will use constantly. It gets rid of towns, and it gets us fear. We need fear. Because if we get enough fear levels, fear does various things, but if we get enough fear levels, we can upgrade the terror level. Terror, normally in games, like having high fear or terror is bad, but in this, our island is getting invaded by invaders, and we're making them afraid of us. If we reach terror level 2, then we don't need to clear off every enemy unit to win. We only need to clear off every town and city, and it is pretty easy for us to clear off towns and cities, relatively speaking. So our goal is to reach terror level 2, so we just need to kill all towns and cities, and to in fact kill all towns and cities. Shatter Homestead is thus great for us because it gives fear. The little one thing symbol is a fear symbol. We need fear to get terror, so that's great, and it destroys a town, which is great. This is a really important card for us. Also, we are not going to get up to our higher level innate powers. We're just going to be using level 1 and 2, which only needs red and purple, and you'll notice this is both red and purple energy. Harbinger. This, of course, also gives red and purple, which is nice. It lets us move Dahan around. This will be how we fight the lone invaders, is having our Dahan fight them. We will clear out the cities and towns with our other abilities, and then we will push our Dahan where they can pick off individual invaders that are ravaging. Lightning's Boon is often something you want to use on a teammate. Give it extra range on their ability, let them use their abilities at instant speed as well. Here we will be playing it a lot because it does give red and purple, which is really good. That lets us reach our innate easier. And because most of our abilities are purple. Each turn we can use one purple thing, or one slow speed, sorcery speed thing at instant speed for every purple element we've gotten that turn. But this lets us do extra ones, and we will always be kind of, it's just worth using. We don't need to go too in depth. Anyways, we're not going to play anything this turn. We are going to be very reactive. We're going to see where they expand and grow, and then we are going to try to deal with it. And I think this is, to me, this is a less interesting playstyle. Maybe there are other ways to play this. I haven't watched like any videos of good players playing this class. The other class I watched like 2 minutes of a video, but the 2 minutes showed some stuff I didn't know, so it was really useful. This class, I've watched nothing. I've just read a build order and done some experimenting, so my play here is significantly worse, I think. But we can still beat this level 100% of the time, and yeah, that's what we will be doing with what I currently understand. So we can add 2 presents again, and we're going to, because now we're going to be getting card play. I have no idea where it's actually best to put these. I guess we want to cover 1 and 6 because, or we want to cover 6 because we don't currently have 6 covered. I guess I'll just put it in 6. Why not? Why did I do 1 of each? I screwed up the opening. Oh, I don't know what I was doing. Why did I take one of each? I was supposed to take two from energy. Now I'm going to be low on energy. So here, all right, well, so I was supposed to take two from the top row so I would get the extra energy. Now I'm going to be an energy short. What a catastrophe. I am a moron. I was not thinking. And we didn't need to get card plays at all because we played no cards last turn. So we're going to get to the state we should be at where we now have two from the energy turn and two from the card play turn. What was I thinking? I was completely brain dead. But we're an energy short now because we should be on +2 energy a turn last turn, which would mean we'd have an extra energy coming into this turn. Oh, this is going to make everything much clumsier. I would like to apologize for my brain deadness. So it's possible we shouldn't play Lightning's Boon, but I really want to get our innate, so we have to play Lightning's Boon. We can't save the energy. Oh dear, I have really screwed this up by being brainless. Alright, well, that's our turn. We're going to start by Lightning's Booning ourselves, because this guarantees we can play all the stuff. Well, we already could, but okay, whatever. Gonna Lightning's Boon, because there's no cost to it. And now, we got to figure out what we're going to do. So we only have the level 1 and 8, so we can take out 2 towns, one with Shatter Homestead, one with Thundering Destruction, and we can move some Dahan around, which can help us pick off lone invaders. So for instance, if we shatter the town in 3, let's do that, then our Dahan are going to be able to pick off the guy in 3. That's great. Now, we can move 2 Dahan with Harbingers, and we can push them. So we can move 2 from 7 into 8. We don't need to have a base in 8. With the previous class, we could only gather to a place we have a base. Here we can push from, so we can push into 8. But we would just lose the fight in 8. We could kill the town, but not the city, and the city is going to destroy our Dahan. So we may as well kill the town because we don't have a better target, but we are not going to be able to push our Dahan usefully there. Where should we put our Dahan? I'm going to start moving them towards the mountains because we may be able to kill towns there next turn and then be able to pick off both these Dahans. So they're going to Ravage in 8, which is a bummer. They're going to die in 3, which is great. We have Dahans, mushrooms. They're going to Ravage in 8. God, I screwed up the opening so bad. And they're going to build in 1 and 6, and they're going to create new threats. But our class is reactive. We're not usually able to deal with the builds. What we are doing is we are dealing with the Ravage phase. And notice we have much worse map control than we did before, but we're going to have an easier time clearing out the threats in the map. Also, again, I really screwed up the opening. I don't know how bad this is going to screw me. But it's going to be pretty uncomfortable. This turn, we're reclaiming. We need our cards, and we now should be entering a cycle. We have +2 energy, and we can play 4 cards a turn. If we had done this right, we would currently have 1 energy, and we would be able to, not infinitely, but basically each turn, reclaim, gain an energy, get a power card, and play out 4 cards. The first 3 cards, everything but Raging Storm, because Raging Storm sucks, and whatever we gain here. Now, because I screwed up, we are only going to have 3 energy, which means we can play Shatter Homestead's Lightning Boon and something that costs 0. So I think I have to take Gift of Constancy because I screwed up. Now, I might take that anyway here, actually, but I think I'm forced to in this instance. Sadly, Gift of Constancy does not have a fire element, which would let us get up to a 4th fire element, which would let us use our tier 2 and 8 and start killing cities. Again, I screwed up. If we could take Drought here, we'd be able to do that. But we're going to take Gift of Constancy. It does give us energy, and that means we might be able to now get back ahead of the curve, which is useful, because 2 energy should put us back ahead of the curve. So we're going to take that. We're going to now get to play 4 cards a turn, and basically we're now in a loop where we reclaim every turn and play 4 cards. And we can do that until we've amassed enough new minor cards that we can play out a hand and have enough energy that we can play out a hand without reclaiming. And at that point, we can start adding more presence and doing more long-term growth things again. Hopefully we win the game before that will be relevant on this difficulty, but that would be the long-term plan. But right now, we have moved into loop mode. So turn 1, we took 2 from the top row, which I messed up. Turn 2, we take 2 from the bottom row, which I couldn't do because I had to fix the problem of turn 1. And turn 3 onwards, we are reclaiming and using our powers. So we now have access to energy, which is nice. Shame we lost. We didn't have it. But, I make mistakes. And now we got to think of what we got to get rid of. We can get rid of 2 towns. We're clearly getting rid of 1 and 6, and our Dahans will be able to deal with the problems. These are not abilities that can deal with 4 and 7, so nothing to do there. Where do we want to put our Dahans? Well, we have 2 and 7, but we have none in 4. And again, if we're going to clear out the cities and towns and have our mushrooms pick off the invaders, we'll need some mushrooms there. So we'll put them there now. We flip a fear card, which gets a bonus because we amassed enough fear. Removes 1 invader from an inland land. So we should remove from 4 or 7 because then they don't get to build there at all. That would be great. Let's do 7. I'm not sure we care that much about the coast like we do with the other class, but my instincts are so strongly clear out the inlands and leave stuff closer to the coast, push to the coast, that I just want to get rid of 7 here, but it's possible this class doesn't actually care or doesn't want to. But I'm going to get rid of 7 here. Because... And there's already a blight in 4. Blight spread, if they blight a place that's already been blighted, it adds a blight to a surrounding area. So it might have been better to get rid of the 1 in 4 just to make sure 4 was safe for us. But alright, so they get to build in 4, and now they explore. Probably the turn they're likely to get coast. Yeah. Coast hits 3 areas, so it's kind of scary. The longer the game goes, the more areas they explore to, so you do want to be able to close out the game fairly quickly if possible. It can feel like you have everything under control, but actually they're going to start drawing worse and worse, scarier explorers, and you actually do not have the game in control at all. All right, so we have a free reclaim through Gift of Constancy. Not very important because we're going to reclaim everything anyway. But we did get ahead on energy there. We got the +2 energy that makes up for the energy we lost earlier. So we're now going to reclaim everything because we're in a reclaim loop. And we're going to grab a miner. And hopefully we see something with fire, because if we do, yeah, we can get up to a 4th fire. I really like Quickens the Earth Struggles. It can only be played where you have a double base, but it gives defend 10. And that means basically our mushrooms will take no damage and can clear stuff out, and they can't hit the ground either. So we're going to take that and we're going to use it on Area 4, and then our mushrooms actually clear out Area 4 on their own, which will let us use our other things in other places. Now, actually, is this that important? No, because if we shatter Homestead, we will already be killing the town there. We're going to use our innate to pick off one of the cities, and so actually we have this left over, so we don't need Quickens the Earth Struggles, but I think I'm going to take it anyway. There's a case for Purifying Flame. Which could pick off the green guy in 8. And it does have red and purple. It's probably right to take Purifying Flame. Quickens the Earth Struggles is really good a lot of the time. And I kind of would like to use it in 2, but we can't use it in 2. Alright, let's just take Purifying Flame. But Quickens the Earth Struggles can be really good. Really useful card. And now we should be able to play 4 cards and get our level 2 and 8, which will let us hit one of the cities. And we're clearly going to hit the city and the coast because the coast is the scary place right now. And we need 1 more red, so we have to play Purifying Flame to get there. And we got our level 2 and 8, which can kill cities. And unlike our other class, we don't need Dahan or mushrooms to fight the cities. We can just kill them. We will do so. So I'm going to start by lightning booning ourselves just to make sure I don't run out of things to do. And we're going to destroy a city in the coast. And that will also get fear, which is nice. we're going to shatter Homestead in the sands. Then our mushrooms will kill the lone invader. And what else do we have to do? We can push twice. Let's push one into the area 3, the grass, the jungle, so that if when they build, if we kill the building, we'll be able to, but not both because the other one needs to fight in the sands, so that it can kill the invader. And what does Purifying Flame do again? 1 damage per blight. If the target is mountains or sands, we may remove a blight. So we could remove the blight in 4 and kill the guy in 4, but we're killing the guy in 4 anyway, and I don't care that much about blight. So I'm just going to hit 8 and kill the invader in 8. Wait. Why did I do that? Could I have hit 1? I should have hit 1 if I could hit 1. I didn't notice 1 existed. Luckily, you can just press undo. You can't go that far back. You can't go back past when new information has been revealed. 1 damage per blight. Oh, I couldn't hit 1. Okay, not an idiot. Alright, great. Or if I am an idiot, this wasn't an instance of it. Wonderful. Great news for everyone. Okay, so that ends turn. Sorry this is running so slowly. We get a fear card because we have been amassing fear. Each player chooses a different land with Dahan, and each 1 damage. Oh, that's great. We can clear out 1. And 1 is a place they were going to build. We could also clear out 2, but I'd rather clear out 1. It's closer to all the inland stuff, and I don't like allowing things to go inland. So we're going to clear 1. 4 is dealt with. Maybe I should have cleared 2, because 1 and 3 already have Dahan in them, and 2 doesn't. So maybe I should have treated 1 and 3 as bigger threats. I'm not sure. I'm not sure. Alright. So we're gonna reclaim again. Like we're in pure reclaim mode. Okay, I'd really love to get rid of that city in 8. Again, sorry, screwed up the opening. That made this a little less clean than it should have been, but it's all worked out okay. So we reclaim. We basically reclaim until we have another turn ready to go with our remaining cards, because we're adding a card each time we reclaim, so each time we get a little closer to not needing to. We're just going to take the one with the fire symbol. There's a case for Sap the Strength of Multitudes. Defend means our Dahan can fight, but better, but I don't think we need it. We're just going to take the fire one. Gift of Power would also get us closer to having enough minor cards that we have 2 turns ready to go and don't have to reclaim and could do other stuff. And again, we're going to try to get enough purple and reds that we can play our tier 2 so we can pick off that city. And we only need 1 more red. You can see them filling up in the middle. So we could take whatever this is. The target is jungle or thing. 1 and 1 damage. That seems useful. 1 damage per blight. Don't have that many blights around. Alright, let's do this one. And that will get our tier 2 and 8, which is great for us because it means we can pick off that city in 8. We have a much easier time dealing with cities, and we don't care near as much about coastal stuff. So some stuff works easier for us. I'm really curious watching this which class you think is more powerful. I'm obviously biased towards the previous one, but this one clearly can do some really strong things where we just like remove a city. And the other one, that's kind of a struggle. Alright, so if we kill all towns and cities, we have 1. So this does 1 damage in either of these locations. So I'm going to kill this city. And then I'm going to pick off one of the guys here. Because then we can push another mushroom in. and they will do 3 damage, and we will have 4. So one of the each mushroom has 2 life. So one of them will live, and it can do 2 damage, so it can kill the town, and that will end the fight. And that will happen before they have a chance to build. So this should be fight over. Lands with a base have 2 defend. That's not relevant. Sadly, we don't have a base in 3, but it doesn't make that much difference here. Each player removes thing from a land with double base. Nothing's on a land with double base. Yeah, a lot of times I notice the fear cards just completely miss for me, which might mean because like fear is not a mechanic I am focused on. You're trying to use a whole bunch of mechanics and optimize them all at once, and I've not thought about like I don't know what the fear cards do. So yeah, this kills the city or the town as said, and that ends the fight. But fear is a mechanic I haven't thought much about. Like getting to terror level 2 is relevant because this is how we won. There are no buildings on the island. That's terror level 2 victory. But I don't know what the fear cards do, and it might be that like it can be worth leaving random invaders in certain squares because a lot of the fear cards will deal with them, and I haven't thought at all about optimizing around that. So that's Spirit Island. I think there's a whole bunch to keep track of and use, figuring out how to use your mushrooms. Uh, the kind of turn order is very strange. Of you start your turn and their whole turn happens right in the middle of your turn. So perhaps it's better thought about as a turn is like sorceries, growth, instance, rather than a turn is growth, instance, they go sorceries. Thinking of the turn as starting with sorceries and being your amount of time before they get to go, I think is kind of useful or interesting to think about. That this is so much more reactive that we are, for instance, here we allow them to build and we try to stop them before they ravage. While in the other class, we can cut off builds, we can get in proactively, and suddenly have freer turns because there's not stuff we need to react to, and we can start building to deal with bigger threats. This is much more reacting, but can more naturally deal with those bigger threats, and so um, doesn't have to be proactive to be in a decent position. Makes them feel really different and interesting to play. And I'm excited to start exploring a third character at some point in this game. Let's just take a peek at the other characters because I really haven't done so like at all, and see what we can very quickly divine. Sorry, this is running so abhorrently slowly. Clearly not a game this computer likes to run while recording. It runs smoothly without, but has trouble running like a bunch of things at once. So let's just click through. Okay, we'll look at the other classes. So the other simple classes, because it has complexity. So we looked at River Surges and Sunlight, Lightning Swift Strike. I think Earth Guy is supposed to be relatively simple. Defend 3 in every land where you have a double base. So that's very defensive. It also means it makes sense to put double bases where there are a lot of Dahan mushrooms. We might not have a natural way to move mushrooms. I think not all classes are as mushroom focused. So this might mean you want to start by placing your bases where there are mushrooms so that those places can be defended and the mushrooms can fight better. That's probably the case. And the innate power, you can repeat cheaper cards, and then you can start repeating more expensive cards. So this is going to be really dependent on what your power cards are. Your innate is only good if your deck is useful. I'm not going to look at what the cards actually are for now, but this like looks like a very defensive class. I also notice in the growths, you cannot gain 2 presence at once. Both of the previous classes have double presence growth, and this only has single presence growth at a time. But every single option is a single growth. And the question is, do you want single growth and to reclaim? Do you want single growth and to claim a card? And do you want single growth and energy? That's interesting. Seems very defensive. And like it's kind of slow to build up and might be really dependent on drawing good cards. The other supposedly low complexity class is Shadows Flicker Like Flame. Shadows of the Dahan. Whenever you, and I have not read these before. Whenever you use a power, you may pay 1 energy to target a land with Dahan, regardless of the power's range. So our abilities have not in not infinite range, but it could feel like infinite range because you can play with multiple maps. If you play a multiplayer game, there are multiple maps mushed together, and this means you could hit stuff really far away on someone else's map if needed for 1 energy, but it might mean energy is a low cost. On the other hand, if you look at others' energy per turn, it often goes like it's starting at 0 actually, but it accelerates really fast here. On other classes, it often goes like starts at 1 and then goes 2, but then the next one is also 2 and then takes another to get up to 3. Here, it goes to 1, which is very slow to get to 1 because most start with 1, but then it jumps to 3 already. So it ramps up energy really fast. That's interesting. So energy is really important on this class. And its innate power. So it seems like it's really good at picking off invaders, but probably struggles, unless the cards below do a good job, killing cities and towns. So it has a lot of range, potentially a lot of energy, and is good at clearing invaders. So it's going to be good at stopping the build phase, but it's bad at dealing with ravages because it can't deal with cities and towns in an obvious way. That's interesting too. All right, then we have the middle complexity classes, which are Spread of Rampant Green and Thunder Speaker. Am I ready for a middle complexity class? I don't know. Okay, we're just going to check like special rules and stuff. Special rules. 2 special rules. I guess why it's more complex is it has more special rules. Choke the land with green. Whenever invaders would ravage or build in a land with a double base, you may prevent it by giving up one of the bases. So if they were going to ravage and do damage, you would already lose your base, but you would also get a blight and you might have your mushrooms killed. Because if they do, say, 3 damage, that kills a mushroom, but they do 3 damage to your mushrooms and they do 3 damage to the land. So that will blight and kill one of your bases. So here, you could sacrifice that base, which means they do kill the base, but they don't get the blight and they don't kill your mushrooms. But your mushrooms don't kill them because you prevent the ravaging entirely. It's not you block the damage, it's you prevent the ravaging. You can also stop building with this. Okay, very defensive ability, quite interesting. Steady regeneration. When adding presence to the board, you may optionally use destroyed bases. If the island is healthy, so they haven't gotten enough blight yet, do so freely. If the island is blighted, it starts costing. So we can be sacrificing our bases with special rule 1. So optionally use your destroyed ones doesn't mean you can bring them back. So at the start of a game, you have enough presence to use all your presence options. But each time a presence is destroyed, you still have the thing it gives, but you can't replay that presence. So this lets you get more presence on board total, but that's only going to matter if the game goes really long. I have never run out of presence to play. But also, I'm kind of bad at late game, so I often just lose there. So I don't think number 2 matters that much, at least in games I've played. Maybe it matters more if this is a really defensive class and games go longer. Alright, innate powers. 1 damage to a town or city. That's not enough to kill a town or city. But it could be useful combined with stuff. Repeat this power. That's enough to kill a town, and repeat it again. That's enough to kill a city. But it has 2 innate powers. So maybe you can get both at once. So if you get green, white, and blue, you could use both your innate powers. Defend. Okay, defend's really useful. And it has range of 1 from a super base. So that means you can defend places you don't necessarily have a base. Okay, this is very interesting. Very defensive class. Interesting defensive class. Okay. Yeah, this is going to be a fun game for me to explore. because these clearly play very differently. Thunder Speaker. Okay. Ally of the Dahan. Your base may move with your mushrooms. Whenever a mushroom moves, you may move a base with it. Well, I have no idea how important bases are and base locations are to this class, so I have no sense of how to judge this. That seems interesting. After Invaders Ravage, for each mushroom destroyed in that ravage, destroy one of your bases within one range. So that's just bad. That's just bad for us. Like, that's just like an additional cost. Okay, so we can move our bases around, which is like, can't be a bad thing, but doesn't sound that amazing. But also, we have to be really careful about what ravages we allow. Now, that might mean we should be proactive and be really careful about builds, not the actual attacks. It also might mean that instead of the kind of, in the first game I played, we sacrificed a lot of Dahan to kill a city. We might not be able to do that here. We might have to like dodge our Dahan out of the way of ravages to make sure we don't lose our bases. And again, we have 2 and 8 powers. Okay, so the first one. Okay, so the first one has like 2 components. It's not one or the other, it's clearly components. So if we have 4 purple, that seems hard to get. This power may be instant speed. Okay. But the actual power is gather up to 1 mushroom per purple, push up to 1 mushroom per yellow. So we have a lot, we care about a lot of elements, and we have a lot of ability to move mushrooms around, which means we have a lot of ability to move bases around. I have no idea what to make of this. And then lead the Furious Assault. Again, if we have 4 purples, it's instant, but the actual ability is 2 and 1, destroy a town for every 2 Dahan, and 4 and 3, destroy a city for every 3 Dahan. And it's really easy for us to move a lot of Dahan. Ah, this is a really mushroom-focused class. That's really interesting. The last thing I notice is if we look at the presence here, if we look at the presence, in card plays, there's the Reclaim 1 option again that we saw with River, which I really liked. But in the energy per turn, there's not only increasing your energy, you are also getting an automatic element. I think air is purple. So if we get up in the top row, if we go 1, we get an automatic purple each turn. If we get up to the fire, we get an automatic fire, and we get an automatic sun, which is yellow, I think. Oh, no idea what to make of that. Really interesting. Seems cool. I'm intrigued by that one. I'm intrigued by all of these. And then there are 2 complex classes, Bringer of Dreams and Nightmares. Special rules. To dream 1,000 dreams. Your powers never cause damage, nor can they destroy anything other than your own bases. What? Seems terrible. Okay, obviously that's really bad, but presumably we'll get better things. When your powers would destroy or deal enough enough damage to destroy, generate fear instead. Okay, but killing invaders generates 0 fear. But killing what would kill towns and cities generates a lot of fear. And you can push things. So we are generating fear while trying to move things around enough that they don't just, build and wreck us. But we can't actually remove them. Notes, a single power cannot destroy a given invader more than once. So if you use a power that does like 2 damage, you put 1 damage on a thing, it can't destroy it. You can't then put the damage on it again to get the payoff of having destroyed it again, because it won't let you. Okay. Powers which cause damage via Dahan are affected just like all others. All effects other than damage destroy work as usual. So even mushrooms can't kill things. So, like, your board is going to fill up and go terrible, but you're trying to manage it enough while maximizing the fear level such that maybe fear, because fear can still do things. Your powers never cause damage. Your Dahan never cause damage. Oh no, powers which cause. But your Dahan can do damage. Yes, your Dahan can do damage, your mushrooms. And the fear abilities can do damage or destroy things. So you have some tools, and you're trying to move stuff around just enough and get just enough other resources that you survive. This seems terrible to me, but again, really interesting. Okay, what else do we? But your board is going to look horrible. Like all the kind of like what looks like a safe board where you manage stuff, that just won't be the case here. Innate powers. Again, I notice on the presence track you can get elemental energy. That's interesting. Also, that you cannot play double presence. Okay. Innate powers. Spirits may drain. Turn any face down fear card face up. So it's earned resolve normally, but you can see what's coming. So you can plan around it. Okay, and you're sort of going to get this inherently, so it means you're just going to have advanced warning of what fear will do for you, which means you can plan around it. Okay, target spirit gains an element they have at least one of. Ah, so we could help with what our teammates are doing, but we could also give ourselves, say, purple or red to help set off, or more white. Not more white, because we already have 3 white, but to set off our other thing. And our other thing just gives us terror. Weird. Yeah, what's cool, they really did manage to get every class to be focused on different things. And there's a million other classes I didn't buy the DLC. There's a bazillion other classes over here that you can use. And some of them have like alternate versions if you get Branch and Claw or Jagged Earth, I forget which. So there's a lot to explore if you want, but these are more different than I expected. Okay, what else do we have? The last one we have is Ocean's Hungry Grass, is the other more advanced class, and one I'm kind of interested in because it's supposed to pair well with River, and I like River. Okay, special rules, Ocean and Play. You may place or move bases into oceans, but may not move them into inland lands. So they have to be on the coast, but you can use the ocean tile. Oceans on board with any of your bases are treated as coastal wetlands for powers and blight. Okay. So they can be blighted like other areas, they're part of that effect, and you can only have your bases on the coasts. Any invaders or Dahan moved to these oceans are drowned. So if we can push things into the ocean, we just drown them. We just kill it. Can you do that to cities and towns? I think you can. It doesn't have the symbol for just the little invader dudes. Ooh, interesting. But you can't move Dahan there. Okay, drowning. Destroy drowned pieces, placing drowned invaders here. Anytime you may exchange X health of these invaders for 1 energy, where X equals the number of players. So, let's say we've drowned 3 invaders. We can trade that into 3 energy playing solo, but if we were playing a 4-player game, we could have like 12 energy there. And it says ignore modifiers to invader health, meaning, oh, health of these invaders. So like towns and cities count as 2 or 3 on your own, so you can make so much energy here. Even single player, you could make a lot. So some of the adversaries, the harder difficulties, increase the health of enemy units. And so this says ignore that modifier. Okay. Add a presence to oceans. Huh. Weird. Again, on the energy track, we have a lot of gained elements. Okay, innate powers. Pound ships to splinters. 0 range, has to be coastal, but that's where all your bases are anyway. But that means it's not going to reach inland at all, right? It doesn't have the range to ever go inland. And this just creates fear. Okay. And ocean breaks the shore. Again, cannot go inland. Drown, drown, drown. So you are an incredible force on the coast and terrible elsewhere. So this must be why it combines well with river, because river can push everything to the coast, and then ocean can drown it all. But you're going to be. I mean, we don't know what the four cards are, and I'm not going to look today. But you must be either really dependent on those, and from those names, they sound like they affect the coast. Like, do you think Call of the Deeps can be played away from the coast, or Grasping Tide, or Tidal Boom, or you, maybe Swallow the Land Dwellers can, but maybe it can't. So you're probably really dependent on what minor powers you get for your ability to, or major powers. We haven't done major powers at all today, but minor and major powers to deal with. Ooh, so interesting. All right, that's really cool. I'm now more excited to play with other classes and explore them all. My current ranking is I like River more than Lightning, but I do like Lightning. It's just, it's a very reactive game in a way where I enjoy the proactiveness of River. And again, if you want to, oh god, this video went long. If you'd like to come play this game with me, I would be happy to play it with people.